Okay.
1 minute. Okay, we are live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 17th Select Board meeting for the town of Millis. I'm Pete Germain. I'm an acting chair. Our former chair, Jim McCaffrey, has retired. And we have with us tonight Aaron Underhill and Craig Schultz, our newest member. And I want to welcome you, Craig, to the Select Board. We have a number of items on the agenda this evening. We're going to start with a few announcements. The first one is the Fairy House exhibit. The Girl Scouts will be setting up their Fairy House on the lawn of the Town Hall, the MB, on June 6th to 12th. And I would encourage all of you to attend. It does say that masks are required. As of today, there's a new item coming out from the governor, so they may not have to be required, but I think it's always useful to consider using them anyway. But at any rate, all the Girl Scouts are asking is that you come enjoy and you donate to the food pantry if you can. It would be very nice to do. These are little homes that have been developed by the Girl Scouts, and they're stocked, and it's for you to look at and see what they have. And it's apparently quite an interesting little setup that they do. So please come out on the 6th to the 12th and enjoy what they set up on the lawn. We also have opened the VMB, Veterans Memorial Building, Town Hall, effective May 11th. So you can go in. At this time, masks are required. There are complete instructions on what's open, when it's open, and any procedures that need to be followed on the website. So please feel free to come in if you need to and finally begin to use the VMB again. I know everybody's been looking forward to this, and it looks like our town and the state are opening up significantly over the next few weeks. So it looks like we're getting pretty close to back to normal. Basically, the town hall is open from 8:30 to 7:30 on Monday, Tuesday 8:30 to 4:30, and Friday 8:30 to 12:30. So those are the hours that are going to be available for anyone who wants to come in. And with that, that's the end of announcements, unless anyone has some additional announcements that they'd like to make at this time. With no additional announcements, we are now going to move into the standard agenda items, and the very first item on the agenda is the reorganization of your select board. So I am now going to open it for nominations for chair of the select board.
I move that Pete Germain be chair of the select board.
Second. So moved and seconded that Pete Germain become chair of the select board. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Aaron?
Yes.
Craig? Yes. And I think it's self-serving, but yes, I'll say yes. I appreciate
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it and look forward to working with you. We'll now take nominations for the vice chair. And
I'll nominate. Oh, go ahead, Pete.
No, please.
I was going to nominate Aaron.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to nominate Aaron as vice chair of the select board. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll poll the board. Aaron?
Yes.
Craig?
Since she said yes as well.
Pete, I say yes. Also, I'm sorry, I tend to go down in the order of how we've been here for a little while. I know we've done that in the past. I'll try to mix it up a little. I apologize. Finally, we have the clerk of the select board, and I'll accept nominations for the clerk.
I move that Craig Schultz be the clerk of the select board.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded that Craig Schultz become clerk of the select board. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll poll the board. Aaron?
Yes.
Pete? Yes. Craig?
Yes.
welcome everyone. We now have a new select board in place, and I welcome all of you. Craig, do you have any comments you'd like to make as our newest member?
Well, I'm thrilled to be here and not have to worry if my mic is muted or not. I was trying to not second or comment whenever I attended during the campaign, but thank you. I'm eager to be on the board and get to work on the projects, and I'm eager to stay on schedule, so I'm not going to say much more.
Well, we're going to look into that also. So,
you're on schedule, Pete. Keep it going.
I'll do my best, thank you. But I'm sure I'm going to have a little help from the rest of you. Okay, as you all know, we're coming up on Memorial Day, and as usual, the town does make a proclamation for Memorial Day, and the proclamation is normally read by the clerk of the select board. So do you have that in front of you, Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, let me scroll down to it.
That's fine.
Screen with Karen's sharing. I should have. Can I decline the clerk role now? Okay. Proclamation. Let's go, bigger. Okay. That is a fancy font. Proclamation. Whereas Memorial Day, originally called Declaration Day, is a day of remembrance for those who have died in service of the United States of America. Over 24 cities and towns claim to be the birthplace of Memorial Day. While Waterloo, New York was officially declared the birthplace of Memorial Day by President Lyndon Johnson in May 1966, it's difficult to prove conclusively the origins of the day. Whereas, regardless of the exact date or location of its origin, one thing is clear: Memorial Day was born out of the Civil War and a desire to honor our dead. It was officially proclaimed on 5 May 1868 by General John Logan, National Commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, in his General Order Number 11. The 30th of May 1868 is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet, churchyard in the land. He proclaimed the date of Decoration Day, as he called it, was chosen because it wasn't the anniversary of any particular battle. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Millis Select Board do hereby proclaim Monday, the 31st of May, 2021, as the Memorial Day in the town of Millis, and urge all citizens of this community to join us in support of Memorial Day. Respectfully, and then the three of us.
Okay. I will ask Mr. Gazinski, should we take a vote on this for signing it? I think we should.
Yes.
Yes, I do recommend that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I will now ask the board if they will vote on declaring this day. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
And I also do it. Therefore, we'll come into the office perhaps tomorrow or the next day or so and actually sign this.
Yes, and I have printed it up for you, and your names will be actually on it to sign.
Okay.
So it's already ready if you want to come in. I was kind of assuming who would be clerk. And I also just wanted to add, Mr. Chair, that I did receive an email, which I can't get into at this moment, but from John Moore, who's our veterans agent. I do have a bullet point list of the events of the day for any residents of Millis or otherwise who would like to join on that day for the celebration, or I should say the remembrance. And I will be posting that on the website as well as Facebook so that residents can see. So I will do
Thank
that
you very
tomorrow morning.
much. I will also tell you, from the best of my knowledge, having talked with the members of the American Legion, that there will be a ceremony up at the cemetery, and the members of the select board have been invited to attend that ceremony, as they are also invited to attend the major ceremony in front of VMB on Memorial Day. I'm sure details will be forthcoming, but that's what I was at least made aware of when I met with them a few days ago. So, Okay. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of on-call firefighters. And we have here five firefighters who have gone through most of the checks that are necessary. And I'm going to let the chief, Mr. Richard Barrett, discuss this in more detail.
Thank you. Good evening, and I'll try to be quick. First, congratulations to everybody in your new positions, and welcome Mr. Schultz to the Select Board. As you stated, I sent a letter to Mr. Kaczynski requesting the appointment of 6 on-call members. The reason you see 5 is 5 of the new recruits would have to pass our recruit training and become certified from the Mass Fire Academy. 1 is already certified. He is a full-time firefighter in the city of Stoughton. He's also a paramedic with 5 years experience, so we're really excited to have Mr. Larissy aboard. These positions come from multiple retirements within the department and the promotion from many of our call firefighters to the full-time position. Again, we're very lucky in Millis that we have a robust call department, and we're able to hire from within. So there's not a lot of surprises when we hire new employees. Additionally, we were very lucky. We had 23 applicants for these 6 positions. We could have taken any of the 23. We narrowed it down between interviews and physical agility testing to the 6 that you have in front of you. So I present to Mr. Kaczynski for appointment Tyler Larissy as a on-call firefighter. Tyler will be ready to go as of your appointment and the physical, and we'll get to utilize his skills right away. The other 5, Sean Marrier, Nick Cutone, Jake Munger, Brandon Green, and Kyle Mead. Once appointed, we'll also have to get a physical, and then we will start them probably in July on our recruit training. That'll take about 3 months, and then they have probably another 2 months of testing with the Fire Academy before we're able to really utilize them on calls. The system has worked very well for us. We have a 100% completion rate and pass rate when we teach the program, and we're excited to have these young men join our department.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to hear we're getting 6 new people. I wish we had an opportunity to meet them, but I will hope that at some point you will bring them to our board and give us that opportunity.
Yeah, tonight is just so we can get them a town physical, and once they complete the program, we will do our big pin-in ceremony and things like that, and then present them to you for questions and anything else you'd like.
Look forward to that. Well, I'll take nominations for the position of the 6 new firefighters.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, in accordance with the recommendations of the fire chief, I would request that the board vote to ratify my appointment of the call firefighters, recruits, and the call firefighters as recommended by the chief and listed in your materials.
I think that's excellent. I'll look to that.
Chair Germain?
Yes.
I move that we ratify Mr. Kaczynski's appointment of the on-call, the call firefighters, as well as the recruit call firefighters. So that would be Tyler Larissy, Sean Marrier, Nick Cutone, Jake Munger, Brandon Green, and Kyle Mead.
Second. Been moved and seconded to accept the appointment from with the recommendation of the town administrator for the appointment of the 6 firefighters as named. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Germain? Yes. Congratulations, Chief. That's terrific. Look forward to it.
Thank you so much, and have a good evening, and you're right on schedule.
I'm trying. I'm having somebody here watching over my shoulder. I don't dare get off schedule. Okay. business is going to be the IT specialist, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct?
I have a personal interest in this one, so I'm looking very much forward to having this individual appointed. So why don't I have this town administrator, Mr. Gazinski, tell us about him and what we're being asked to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as the board is aware, we have been in the process of trying to bring on a in-house paid IT professional for almost 2 years. We have reached out to some area communities about the possibility of bringing together a person to work with 2 communities, and we've successfully negotiated an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Norfolk. After a long and thorough process, I am very happy to report back to the board this evening that we have an excellent individual, comes very well qualified, by the name of James Donovan. He works currently in the town of Needham in a similar role, and he will be coming here to take over some of the extraordinary volunteer work that we've had done by Chairman Germain over the past couple of years, and really help us move forward our IT infrastructure and operations here. So I believe that Mr. Donovan is joining us this evening, and again, very excited to have him come on board, and I very enthusiastically would like to recommend that the board ratify my appointment of an IT specialist for the town of Millis. This would be for, at this point, 20 hours per week, with another 15 hours per week he'll be working with the town of Norfolk. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have. And again, Mr. Donovan is here if you'd like to ask him any questions or discuss his background.
Thank you. Since I've had an opportunity to talk with Mr. Donovan, I'm going to open it to the other board members if they have any questions or would like in any way to ask him questions of Mr. Donovan.
I'm just going to say welcome aboard.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I worked in IT for a while, and I was very much afraid that it's going to become a select board role, and I did not want to undertake it. So thank you. I know Pete's excited about it.
Yes, I am as well. It looks like a very, good opportunity and a good fit for me as well. So I'm very excited about this.
Good.
I'd also like to, say welcome aboard. You've got an excellent resume and clearly come highly recommended. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am. So, am I allowed to submit my resignation at this point from IT?
Absolutely, effective his start date.
But as a result, I think we need to endorse the recommendation of the town administrator, so I'll take a vote on that. Please, somebody nominate.
I move that we ratify the town administrator's appointment of James Donovan as the IT specialist, working 20 hours with Millis and 15 with Norfolk.
Second. So moved and seconded to recommend the appointment as recommended by the town administrator for an IT director to be shared between the town of Norfolk and Millis in the name of James Donovan. I'll poll the board. Mr. Schultz. Aye. Ms. Underhill.
Yes.
Mr. Germain, yes. Welcome aboard, Mr.
Yes.
Donovan.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And Mr. Donovan, your physical, through the chair, is scheduled for tomorrow, is that correct?
That is correct.
Perfect.
And when are you planning to start?
Based on everything and being appointed tonight with proper notice to my current position, we were looking at 6/4. We could try to move it up a little bit into the week prior, but then it could be a split week. but that can definitely be something to be discussed, but at this point, I was looking at 6/4 as a start date.
Well, there's no hurry on that. 9:01 tomorrow morning is fine with me. Welcome, and we'll work with you however that has to be worked out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, trying to keep on schedule from this point on, because I know I'll not hear the end of it if I don't tonight. The next item on the agenda is the stormwater hearing continuance for 326 Orchard Street.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, we do have to wait until 7 o'clock for that one.
Oh,
So since it is a hearing, so you've actually run slightly ahead of schedule.
unbelievable.
If you'll indulge me just for a minute, I just want to take this opportunity for those that maybe didn't see one of your recent meetings. We have a new intern that just started in the Select Board's office and in my office here. Sam Hockenberry will be joining us for the next, how many weeks is that, Sam?
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Sam was at work on South.
And he'll be, and the public will be happy to know he'll be working with us at no charge to the community. So it's a mutually beneficial arrangement where he will be learning quite a bit about municipal operations. And we will certainly get some benefit from his time and efforts here. We look forward to working with him over this time, and just want to welcome him to the office. So.
Thank you. So welcome. I had an opportunity to work a little with him today, so I'm looking forward to more of that. If we have a few more minutes, is it possible that we could move to the looking at
Want to do the COA?
dates for the schedule of upcoming board meetings? We could deal with that.
Actually, Mr. Chair, I don't know, Mr. McKay is the appointment, the individual for the appointment here, or is he set to come back in at 7:30? If, I don't know if Jim, if you're on the line.
I think he said he was going to be here at 7, so he's not here quite yet. So.
Okay.
All
right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
do you want to just quickly do the rock and rollin' 50s?
right on, Lee.
That would be a quick,
That's right.
if you'd like me to speak to that, let me just, if I can,
Please do.
I'm going to quickly try to go to that
I can just
page
find it.
here with me. Oops, I went ahead too fast. So the Rock and Rolling 50s is a Council on Aging event. We are actually getting back to a few events here. There it is. If you can see it on the screen here. And the COA is going to be having looking to have a get-together on Wednesday, June 30th. And that is from, sorry, I can't read it because it's...
From 1 to 2.
From 1 to 2 p.m. It will be in the parking lot here at Town Hall, Veterans Memorial Building, in the back with live entertainment from Big Smile Entertainment. There will be tickets available for those who would like to grab lunch. Otherwise, it is a free event. There'll be a hot dog cart with hot dogs, chips, and beverages. They encourage people to bring a lawn chair and come enjoy the festivities. They are limited to the number of people that can participate, again, at this time, but that may change pending the governor's order. Right now, social distancing and masks would be required and pre-registration is required. You can contact the COA, but again, I suspect that may very well change. So I guess we're just asking the board if they are on board with this event and us closing off the rear parking lot of the building from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. on June 30th for this event.
Well, I'll take a vote on whether we should agree to close off the parking lot as requested.
I'll make a motion that we close the rear parking lot for the Rock and Roll and 50s party on Wednesday, June 30th. From, was it 1 to 2?
11:30 to
11:30 to 2.
Thank you. I couldn't read that small.
Yeah.
Here's my motion.
Seconds.
So moved and seconded to agree to close off the parking lot of VMB from 11:30 to 2 p.m. on June 30th for the Rock and Roll and 50s party that the COA is going to hold. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
And Mr. Germain, yes.
And Mr.
So-
Chair, I will add that we did speak with both the DPW director as well as the rec director to make sure there were no conflicts, so it was just pending your decision. It looks like we're good to go. We'll just cross our fingers for nice weather.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, are we still too early for,
You are, it's 3 minutes.
okay, how about, can we do the Innovix contract in 3
Sure.
minutes?
Sure,
Why not?
I think we can. That was before
Yes.
this.
I have to find it here,
I
but
do
what we have is a contract for printers for the Veterans Memorial Building. The Karen and others have spent a lot of time looking at various offers, options, and so forth, and the decision was to go with Innovix. And I'll let you describe it, Karen.
So yes, we leased the copiers here at the building. When I first started in my position, I'll just give a quick background here. I think every office was working with a different vendor for their copier. And since then, we have gotten a little bit more efficient here. All of the copiers in the building are now under one vendor. We can only do a 3-year lease for the equipment. So we were getting back to needing to start up a new contract again. We vetted a couple of companies, including the company we're currently working with, but Innovex came on, and they were extremely professional. They're fairly local, and also the price is great. We think that they have everything that we're going to need. Pete and I, and actually Maureen Canesi and Mike all sat down in a meeting with them, kind of talked about what they had to offer and tried to figure out what made the most sense to be more efficient. And also, like I said, at a better price point. I think we'll be very happy with them. So we have worked out a contract with them, gone back and forth, and I think at this point I would recommend that you move forward with signing a contract for us.
So I'll take a motion regarding that, if you have any questions first.
Mr. Chairman, I would just request that the board vote to authorize me to sign on behalf of the board the contract with Innovex.
I'd allow that as part of the motion.
I make a motion that the town approve the Novex contract, allowing the town manager to sign in place of the board on the contract.
So moved and seconded to allow the town administrator to sign the contract with Innovix and to agree to the contract with Innovix for the copiers at PMB. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
And myself, yes. So, yes, we have approved the contract, and I think we're now ready to move forward with the hearing on the continuance of the 326 Orchard Street. Which is, what, 137?
Dan is here. Dan, do you want to share the screen, or I think?
Please, yeah, if I could, that'd be great.
And I believe Melissa is here as well. Melissa, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Also, reconstituted group.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I need to open the hearing on this.
You do. Well, you need to vote, right, to reopen the hearing.
We have to reopen the hearing, so I'll take a motion to that effect.
I move that we reopen the hearing.
Second. Moved and seconded to reopen the hearing for 326 Orchard Street. I'll poll the board. Mr. Schultz? Aye. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. Here we are now in a hearing session for that. And I guess I will turn to Mr. Merican, who represents them, and let us understand what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dan American with Legacy Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. Karen, if you could stop your screen share, then I could put
Oh, sorry about that. Don't want to be a screen share hog here.
Thank you.
Okay, there.
So this is, for Mr. Schultz's benefit, and the other members who might not recall the details, this is an application for a land disturbance permit for one single-family home at 326 Orchard Street. It's a very large piece of property. It's 14.6 acres, and it's conservation restricted, such that only one home can be built on the site. And coming in off of Orchard Street, we have a floodplain that we need to cross. And there are some wetlands kind of just off-site here. We we have permits from the zoning board and the conservation commission to do that. And the development area is kind of back in the middle of the site. So long story short is we end up with a long driveway, and we disturb more than an acre of land, so which triggers the need to apply to you for land disturbance stormwater permit. Now, when it came before you a few weeks ago, we explained to you that, that at the state level, the stormwater management standards, which are basically what your regulations are modeled after, are not applied to small projects like this. But the board asked us to go through and perform some calculations and provide a report that would describe the impact, and we've done that. And that's been reviewed by Melissa from Beta, who is your peer review consultant. So basically what we've done, we've made a few changes here, but essentially what we did was we quantified the project. So the roof runoff from the proposed dwelling was put into an underground infiltration system, which is quite a bit larger than is normally required. The runoff from this portion of the driveway here is being accommodated with a low impact development credit because we have all this basically wooded natural area downslope of that will receive that runoff and disperse it and treat it and put out infiltration. And then the driveway, we have down in this area where basically we added a sediment forebay. We have a swale along the driveway. We have a swale all along the driveway here. And then we added a sediment forebay and a small shallow depression. It's only a foot deep, but it basically behaves exactly like a stormwater infiltration basin. And we took that into account in our calculations. So at the end of the day, we comply with the regulations except for 3 places. One is you have a requirement in your regulations that we locate every tree larger than 12 inches in diameter, which on a 14-acre parcel like this would be a mammoth and costly undertaking. So we're asking you to waive that provision. The second is we have small increases in peak runoff in the design storms. In the grand scheme of the site, they're not large at all. All of the runoff from our development area goes directly into Augustus Brook. It does not flow into any of these abutting residential properties. They're separate from a hydrology standpoint. And then the third thing is, which is not an uncommon thing, the first 90 feet or so of this driveway, we have wetland over here. The Conservation Commission has a 50-foot no-alter zone, so we can't create any official stormwater BMP in this area, although I would note that the runoff from the driveway just flows down into this whole area, which is very flat and is vegetated and it's going to act like a stormwater basin. So we don't technically apply that, but Beta noted in their review that our stormwater systems that we are taking credit for treat 4 times the volume that we are otherwise required to treat under the stormwater standards. So I think it's a reasonable offset. So that's about it. Again, the plan hasn't really changed. We've just provided the documentation that the board requested. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I have drafted a decision, which I sent over this afternoon, if you want to talk about conditions and things like that. You're on mute, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you're on mute.
I'm following Mr. McCaffrey. What can I say?
I was gonna say,
Ms. Rokos, if you have any further comments, particularly emphasizing, I think there are 3 points in there where you're looking for the select board to make a decision.
Yeah, so I concur with what Dan presented there. Is reflected in the calculations. So we identified the 3 waivers, kind of narrowed down exactly what doesn't quite meet the standard, but also it highlights other areas on the site where mitigation is being provided. As I said, some additional water quality in other areas, and then the overall conservation area that the site provides. is valuable for mitigation for the town's overall stormwater management program and peak runoff. So those 3 waivers are important for the board to have to vote on those. There's a couple things I just wanted to point out as far as items. There are things that are required in the regulations. Usually they're picked up by other boards or decisions on larger projects. One thing is the as-built plan for the property. I don't know whether the board would like that added as a condition of approval.
On that thought, Melissa, we will have to do an as-built for the Conservation Commission, which would involve basically the first half of the driveway. So that would be the kind of the delta if the board would talk about would be, whether we would need to as-built all this. We locate, for the building department, we locate the structures, and we usually show the driveway and the structures on a foundation as-built. We don't normally do a full topographical as-built of a single-family home unless we're in a conservation jurisdiction. So that's where it would just be the beginning part of the driveway where a lot of the stormwater management features are. But we certainly could. I inspect the installation of the recharge systems. So another board might want to consider a requirement that, the foundation as-built for the house show the location of the stormwater roof recharge systems for the house.
I think that's a reasonable request and something the board should consider. Please, if there are other questions from members of the board.
I was there for the initial presentation, Mr. Chairman, and it's an area that I am not expert in, so I'm relying quite heavily on what our consultant has to say about it. I think the first issue, locating every 12-inch tree on that property, seems like, to me at least, there's not a lot of benefit for the cost involved in that. And the runoff issues, I'm not an expert in, so I haven't read the letter. I'm still learning.
Ms. Underhill?
I don't have any questions. I did read through the material. It does sound like the 3 requested waivers, in my opinion, seem reasonable. And seeing our consultant's comments also make me feel comfortable moving forward with that. I am, outside of anything else, I am trying hard to figure out how to make a motion on this one. So, give me a moment.
Yeah, I do like the project concept. I like everything about it that I've seen. I don't know how to craft a motion on zoning or this type of an article either.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Actually, Dan had sent earlier today, and I believe I have it to show on the screen if you want, which is just a recommendation for the motion, or you have it, Dan?
I'll put it up, Karen. Yeah.
Because, yes, it's a little wordy. Draft decision, thank you.
It's very helpful. But this is basically a standard. All of this is wordy stuff that you don't care about.
Not on the screen yet. I'm still seeing the as-built with the plans. Right?
So the conditions that we proposed, 6 of them, stock conditions.
Excuse me, Dan. It's still showing the map on our end here.
Oh, right, because it's a Word document. Give me 1 second to print this to a PDF.
No problem.
I might be able, is it
I just saw it. Hold on.
on a motion by, and then there's a line, seconded by, is that what we're looking at?
That is correct.
There it is.
So you have 2 motions, one to close the public hearing, and then the second motion be to approve the project.
Okay.
With the 6 conditions that we listed, plus 1 additional condition that the roof recharge system be shown on the foundation aspect.
And then I don't know if you need to add the as-built as a condition as well.
That's the roof recharge system.
The roof recharge. Okay. Well, are there any other comments from anyone else who has been attending this meeting? If not, then I would vote to close the hearing.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. The hearing is now closed. Okay, so now we're at the stage where we have to take a vote on whether we agree to the conditions as provided. I don't think we're going to read the entire thing, but I think we need to read most of it. So would one of you choose to do so?
A little bit larger, but go ahead, Aaron, if you want to.
Sure. I have it over here in front of me. I do have a question before I do this, though. The as-built and the roof thing, are those the same things? Are those
Yes.
two things the same? Okay. So,
We'll be doing an as-built for the areas in the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction anyway, so. I think
that
what-
doesn't need to be added to this.
Right, I think what Melissa wanted to add was that the roof recharge system as installed be reflected on an as-built, and we could add that to the foundation as-built.
Okay.
Is that correct, Melissa?
That's correct.
All right, so do I need to ad-lib here and add in the roof recharge system?
Yeah, that would be the
Okay.
second condition.
All right. Okay, I move that we approve the permits for the 326 Orchard Street project for the proposed development. So that would be the granting the stormwater management permit, the land disturbance permit, and the three requested waivers. Also, there are some conditions that will be considered. The applicant shall construct the project in accordance with the approved site plan. All construction activities shall proceed in accordance with the SWPPP. The decision will be recorded by the applicant along with the operations and maintenance plan with proof recording provided to the select board. Wherever plans and conditions differ, conditions of the permit shall govern. All bills for town consultants used during the permit review process must be paid by the applicant before the permit is issued. Construction shall commence within 2 years of obtaining all necessary permits or from the resolution of appeals action, whichever occurs later. And a roof recharge system will be added.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded to approve the application for 326 Orchard Street with the land disturbance and stormwater management conditions as just noted. I will poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine? Yes. So the permit is hereby granted from the select board.
Thank you for your time, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I just would like to make a quick comment here that I know we've asked for details that you hadn't anticipated. I do want to thank you for getting back to us with those details, but we are not experts in this area, and it's important that we get enough information that we feel comfortable with moving ahead. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, you too. Okay. I think our next item, again, we're running a little ahead, would be the appointment of a heavy equipment operator, assuming Mr. McKay and his compatriot is there. Let me just see what
Yes.
I got.
And Mr. Chair, this isn't an official hearing, so you can take this in advance since they're here.
Okay, that's great. I'm just trying to find it on my sheet, which I can't find.
I'm showing it on the screen. Does that help you?
Yeah, it's going to have to. I tell you.
What are we gonna do when we're not in Zoom anymore?
I've got about 18 windows open and everything's overlapped. I can't find a thing. Okay, I'll open to Mr. Gazinski to tell us what your thoughts are, and for Mr. McKay to make his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board is aware, we've had a vacancy for several months, and we did go out with a search process to find a replacement for this position in the stormwater division of DPW, and we were very fortunate to find an excellent candidate in Brandon Gilliam who lives in Blackstone. He has quite an extensive background and has all the qualifications needed to carry out this position. He has a valid Mass Class B CDL license and will obtain his full Class B license within the first 6 months of employment with the town. He will also obtain a Mass 2B hoisting license from the Commonwealth of Mass Division of Professional Licensure within 6 months of employment. And if the board so ratifies my appointment, it would just be contingent on a successful physical and query check. And I did have a chance to speak with Brandon this afternoon, and he's very excited, as are we, to have him come on board. And I am recommending that the board vote to ratify my appointment this evening. And I'm sure Mr. McKay has a few comments as well, and maybe the board wants to, if they have any questions or would like any comments, they may do so.
Mr. McKay, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a great way to keep the first night of the new board, to hire all these people and to fill big positions in the town. This is our stormwater. It's been open, as the town administrator stated, for almost 6 months. So we've had it posted for a while, and Brandon noticed it on the website, which is great. I guess that's glad people actually look at that. And he noticed his family, which he'll be explained very shortly. His family has a big background in DPW work, so that's going to help us with the position. As the town administrator stated, that during the interview process, Brandon let his CDL license lapse, so he, I explained to him he would have to go get that, and within that time, within a day of the first interview, he went out and got his CDL permit, which was that shows me that he has an interest in this. He's also he doesn't have his 2B license, as the town administrator stated, but within 6 months he'll get it. Again, he also did that too. He went out and the requirements needed to get that license, he's already signed up for the test. So I see there's no issue with that being a problem with the position. He will be taking over the stormwater, which Brandon does have some background in with working with the iPad, which is marking everything out, which storm basins, and which will assist us when we start doing catch basin cleaning. We have to mark all them off, and he will once he gets his license, will operate in that brand new street sweeper and get out there and start sweeping the streets. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and Brandon is here if you have any questions for him.
I'll let the board members ask questions or whatever.
That's me. It's my son's name on there, though, because he uses the computer for school, so sorry about that.
Hi, Brandon.
Aaron knows that.
Yeah. I'm interested in hearing about your family's background in DPW.
Sure. So my father was, I grew up in the town of Southbridge. He was a DPW for Southbridge. He passed away. His mom, my grandmother, was a police officer for West Newton, Massachusetts. And my father's father, which my grandfather, was DPW for West Newton as well. My brother-in-law is DPW for Hudson. And my mom's new husband is also DPW at Southbridge. So growing up with my dad, he'd leave overnight in the snowstorms and all that, and so he was driving the catch basin truck. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sorry about your dad.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair Germain, if I may, I do actually just because I haven't done one like this before, I do just have a couple questions that perhaps Mr. McKay might be able to answer.
Please.
So when when we do this, are we saying that, within the motion, do we have to say that it's contingent on the 2 licenses within 6 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And then a physical inquiry. Okay. Okay, that was it for me.
I'm going to call for my physical tomorrow, see if I can get one at least by Friday, or at least scheduled.
Okay.
So say welcome. Good to
Thank
have
you.
some position, and Aaron got the questions out there. So welcome to town.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Likewise, I don't have anything further. I think it was all aspect was done, Ms. Underhill, and I welcome you to the town also. I think it's terrific. So at this stage, I'll take a motion regarding the recommendation of the town administrator to employ Brandon.
I move that we ratify the appointment of the town administrator to accept Brandon Gargone of Blackstone as a, full-time heavy equipment operator for the stormwater division, pending license, him obtaining license, 2 particular licenses within 6 months of employment, and passing a physical and query.
Second.
Moved and seconded to recommend the appointment of Brandon Gargone for heavy equipment operator with the conditions that he obtain the Mass 2B hoisting license, pass his physical and query checks. I'll poll the board. Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine? Yes. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Welcome,
Okay. Looking forward to working with you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm now going to move on to the Braun property, which is the next steps of what we were talking about just a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to suggest the town administrator bring us up to date on the discussions that he's had with the town council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I previously outlined for the board through town council, there are a number of steps the town needs to make to move forward on the purchase of the property as authorized by town meeting. You had received 2 documents. One is a notice to exercise the right of first refusal, which I'll be asking the board to basically ratify that this evening, and I'll be able to send that out should the board give me authorization to do so. The second would be a purchase and sale agreement, which has also been put together by town council. And with the board's authorization, we will forward this to the owner of the property for review. Certainly they have the right to review it and make suggestions for changes if they so wish. So there may be some discussion with them on this, but I would be asking for the board's authorization this evening if you feel comfortable in moving ahead with that. And then once the purchase and sale is signed by both parties, the town has 90 days to close on the property. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has in regards to this. I think we're ready to move ahead if the board is ready to act this evening.
The only question I would have is, all of this has been prepared and reviewed by town council, correct?
That's correct. It's actually been prepared by town council.
So that sounds fine. I'll open it to questions from the board.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Schultz.
I saw that the environmental assessment and suitability contingency is in there. Which
Yes.
is good. Would we be having a plan to hire a site inspection licensed site professional or to look at that, or what level of detail would be going into on that study?
Well, Well, we would certainly, once the purchase and sale is signed, we would go on and do a review of the site. And then we'd have some time to make a determination on the level of review and or testing on the site we would conduct. But as soon as the purchase and sale is executed, we should we'll be able to go on the property and do those reviews. My thought would be that we'd bring this back to the board. Hopefully, at your next meeting, we'd have the purchase and sale in a state ready for the board to execute. And at that time, the board could discuss the process for doing due diligence on the property before the date of closing.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Chair Germain?
Yes, Ms. Underhill.
Just one question. Mr. Kaczynski, what exactly did you need tonight? Us to approve you to execute the right of first refusal?
Yes, it's basically authorization for me to sign the notice of exercise of right of first refusal and to send that to the property owners.
Okay.
And also to authorize myself and town council to send this purchase and sale agreement off to the owner of the property and their attorney, and to discuss and to negotiate this with them, and bring a final document back to the board for execution as soon as it's completed.
Okay.
Okay. That sounds pretty straightforward. Any other questions from the board? I'll open it to anybody else who might have questions who's attending the meeting. Hearing none, I'll take a motion on first the notice of exercise of right of first refusal.
I move that we authorize the town administrator to exercise our right of first refusal and to send that information to the property owners as well.
Second. So moved and seconded to have the town administrator sign the notice of exercise of right of first refusal and to send it off in certified mail to the property owners for the Braun property, as we've been calling it. I'll take a vote on that. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Germain? Yes. So you have that authorization, Mr. Kaczynski. Second, we look at the purchase and sale, and I think what we need a vote to allow you to move forward with the document as presently configured.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I move that we authorize the town administrator to move forward and execute the purchase and sale agreement, and to negotiate on behalf of the board, the town.
Second.
To negotiate. Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the town administrator to negotiate the purchase and sale agreement and sign it with the property owners and to bring the final results back to the board for final authorization. I'll poll the board. Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Germain, yes. So you have that authority now, Mr. Kaczynski. Thank you. Okay. We've already gone through the next two, so we have here section 143, discuss the select board goals. And I think everyone received, if I can find it, a packet that says what our goals are looking for. Yeah, here we go. Great. Assuming that all of you have had a chance to look at that, there probably will be others that we'll add to it, but I thought this would be a good place to start. It's not that we're going to go through them all this evening, but I think it's important that we begin to think about all the issues that we need to address over the next year. And this gives us a starting point. I don't know that we'll get through every one of them, but I think our newest member probably can take on the first half dozen and deal with all of them himself, and we'll move from there. Is that fair, Mr. Schultz?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I didn't think you...
3 of those committees, 4 of those committees.
Yeah. So, but as you can tell, just looking at what's here, there's a lot that we have to deal with. And I think it gives us some structure for moving forward. I wasn't intending that we have to go into these in any detail this evening, but I would hope that we'll keep this as a live document, and then as we go through our board meetings, we'll begin to set up how we think we ought to be dealing with each of these issues for the near future. There is one comment I'd like to make with the board on a couple of things, if I might. The first is with respect to charter review. I'd like to get that committee in here, or at least a representative for it, as soon as possible, even preferably the next meeting, so we can understand what was decided, why they decided it, and how we, as a select board, should consider moving forward on those recommendations. Do you have any comments, either of you?
Agreed.
I think that's a good idea. I served on that committee. I haven't yet. I now officially announced my resignation from that committee. But I think that the big piece would be to figure out if it's going to go on the November town meeting warrant, and not what's on the warrant, but if there's our goal to hit November town meeting, and then move forward with that goal in mind, if that's the case, because it shouldn't take too long to pull the recommendations together. I know our chair can do that quite quickly, and then we can, but just having a target date in mind would be helpful.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Ms. Underhill?
I agree.
Okay. What I will do then, and through Mr. Kaczynski, I'll ask if we can try to schedule the Charter Review Board, or at least the representative of the board, to meet with us at our next meeting, if possible.
Very well, Mr. Chairman. We will contact the chair of the board and ask them to participate in your next meeting.
Terrific. The next thing I just wanted to comment on is PFAS. We're looking into further correspondence with our state representatives. As we've heard, to mitigate it, it's going to cost the town between $12 and $15 million. Therefore, we think that if we can possibly get some financial assistance from the state, that makes some sense. There are some other issues there, too, that we think ought to be dealt with. And so I have been working with Mr. Kaczynski, but I'm sure if you have any questions, either of you, please discuss them with Mr. Kaczynski. We need to move forward on this, and I think it's imperative for this town to stay ahead of the curve on trying to deal with the quality of the drinking water in the town. Do I have any comments, concerns, issues?
I agree.
I think that's a fair statement. I do want to point out that that's $3 million, pretty much $3 to $5 million per plant that needs treatment, I guess is what it comes down to. And right now we have about one over the limit. The others are in a watch state, so it may not be all that money at once, but it could be phased in over time. But depending on how the other wells perform, is the way I understand it.
One of the concerns I have is just the lead time to put in mitigation facilities, regardless of, the fact whether we can afford it or not. So that's something we all have to consider, and how we keep the town's water supply as safe as possible during that period. I'm also concerned with alternatives in the event we did have a major problem. I will also tell you, I'm not sure if you're all familiar with it, I saw some testing results from Mr. McKay recently. We did ask that he get 2 organizations to do the testing rather than 1. And much as I was concern that this may show some disparities. In fact, it did. So there is now going to have to be some discussion about what the implications of that are, and I know Mr. McKay is moving forward in that area. But none of this is easy.
Yeah, Peter, can you just refresh me on that one? Was that wells 1 and 2 with the disparities, or was it wells 5 and 6?
I think it was 5 and 6. I don't think
they're still online.
Right, and the disparities weren't to take it offline, but I think it was like between 9 on one test and 16 or 18 on another test.
Oh, wow.
We're still within the limits, but the problem is the spread. And that's what we're trying to understand. That's a fairly wide margin. And we're trying to understand what are the implications. Obviously, we're going to get more tests over time and probably other wells, and we'll see if that holds up and what happens. None of this is simple. You can't take one test in either case and accept it. So the fortunate thing is that it's within limits. The unfortunate thing is that one of them is getting close to tolerance levels. So, there are a lot of issues here. Okay. I think the rest of these, unless you have any comments, are items that we should move forward over the next several weeks or months, if you will, and try to deal with them. I am very hopeful we can deal with many of these within the first 3 or 4 months in some form or another. And don't get me wrong, I realize there's a lot of work in there, but I also think we have an obligation to the community in cases of trying to explain things, move things forward, and to try to understand better how we want to proceed with the community in some of these endeavors. Okay.
Chairman Tremaine?
Yes, Ms. Underhill.
I wanted to just float one more thing, not that this list isn't long enough, but well, there's one part of the list further down that says establish town-owned land development advisory committee, and there's a few examples underneath that. I did want to mention that I am interested in maybe exploring a master plan committee or project. It looks like we had one that wasn't very active, and from things that have come up, surrounding the last town meeting, it sounds like it might be a good idea to start looking into that to update it.
I'm open to any and all suggestions like that. Why don't you formulate what you would recommend? I would suggest talking also with Mr. Gazinski, as I would suggest Mr. Schultz might do also. He has been in quite a number of committees and probably has a lot of valuable information to add to what you're looking for. I realize we can't discuss this with each other, but we can through Mr. Gazinski, and I think that would be very, very valuable.
And I do see those as the master planning group is the whole project. This town-owned land was supposed to be a small subset of that, so I think it would dovetail beautifully into a paragraph or two or chapter or two, or however it's laid out in the master plan. But this was an attempt to, assuming the purchase and sale goes through in 90 days, this was an attempt to come up with ideas around that parcel and others. It was a great opportunity. That was one of my ideas.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to add that another good person to talk to and whose brain to pick would be Bob Weiss, our economic development, who was on this meeting earlier but must have left a little bit early here, but he is...
departed about a minute ago.
I was going to say he would be very interested, right, Mike, in the Land Development Advisory Committee or Master Plan Implementation Committee, and I think he would be very helpful with that process.
Yes, and I've had a few conversations with Mr. Weiss about the master plan, and one of the goals or initiatives he'd been looking at was really examining the current master plan and a process for updating it. So I think he had been, at least looking for possible grants coming through for that, and I'm sure it's something that we can talk about. Or I'll speak with him over the next few weeks and see what possibilities or opportunities are out there to take that next step.
Excellent. Other comments, suggestions? Okay. I, again, encourage you, let's keep this list active and current relevant. Let's work on it. So I think we can expect each meeting we're going to deal with issues on this list, if that's okay with the rest of the board. And if you have specific priorities, please forward them to Mr. Kaczynski so that we can actually put them on the agenda and try to deal with them as part of regular board meetings. Fair enough?
Do we need to vote on this as a list of goals, or should we just keep it as our list?
I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, that since the board members have really just seen each other's comments today, that you may want to take at least a few weeks to think on those and look at it. And we could certainly refine this over the next month or so if the board wanted to refine it into some sort of formal goal document. But I think it does need still a little more refinement. There are some overlapping areas, and as well as I think it would be better or I'd recommend the board look at trying to condense it down a little bit into a formal goal document.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would also just like to add that you are also well on your way to establishing shorter meetings, it seems.
We'll see.
Interrupting, Karen, if you keep interrupting.
Sorry.
We'll do our best. Okay. The next item on the agenda is board and committee liaison updates. Now, before we get into that, which I think everyone has a copy of that, there is something I need to bring up, although it wasn't part of this agenda tonight. I am going to bring it up because I think it's very important due to the criticality of some issues that are going to come up very shortly, literally in the next day. As we know, Mr. Schultz has been on the Permanent Building Committee and the ESBC, Elementary School Building Committee. I believe it's fair to say he has resigned from those committees, or is in the process at any rate. But we can't leave those committees without the appropriate membership and participation of people who can vote on them and carry forward. So I would like to put into motion the possibility of recommending Mr. James McCaffrey to become a member of the PBC. And from there, assuming we agree, then to also recommend that he become a member of the ESBC. I realize that the ESBC may not be in existence a lot longer, but it is critical that they have the full membership to manage. I have talked with Mr. Klocko. He understands and agrees, so if that's of any help, that's what I'm recommending. That's the first part of what I'm going to recommend. I'd like to deal with that first, then I have a secondary recommendation on our interfacing with those committees.
Yeah, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Jim would do a great job on the committee. He's attended all the meetings. He knows there'd be no learning curve for him to ramp up to that. I think as far as an appointee goes, I think he's the guy.
Okay.
Jermaine?
Yes, Ms. Underhill.
Do we, this might be a silly question, but do we know if he's willing to do this?
I have checked.
Oh, he is. Okay.
I have checked with him. And
okay.
He's willing, but as I said to him, he doesn't have a lot of choice. So he definitely is willing. So I'll take a motion on this.
Move that we we nominate Jim McCaffrey to the PBC and the ESBC.
Second?
So moved and seconded to nominate Mr. McCaffrey to both the PBC and the ESBC. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine? Yes. Now, following on to that, we, as the select board, need a representative on those committees. And I would like to suggest that the obvious recommendation would be to have Mr. Schultz be the select board member on those committees, at least for this time because of what's going on. I'd like to have discussion and comments on that.
I'm more than willing to continue in that role, if that helps any. I was counting on tomorrow night being off, but no, I will go to a committee meeting. So no, I'd be thrilled to do it. I really liked building. I've been on the building committee for 10 years, and started with the library. And I am pleased with the work we've done. I'd like to see the other projects that we're working on through to completion. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, I know I hadn't asked you in advance, and I wish I could have, but as you know, I cannot. So I appreciate that. Ms. Underhill, do you have any thoughts?
If Mr. Schultz is willing to do that, that sounds fantastic to me.
Take a motion on that.
I move that we assign Mr. Schultz to be the select board representative to the PBC and the ESBC.
I'll second that. Poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got to figure out dinner tomorrow night.
Thank you very much for being willing to step in there, Craig, but it's very important with some decisions that are coming up to have some continuity there.
Got a couple of big projects in the works.
Yeah. So.
And Mr. Chair, sorry, just
Yes.
to note that the board will be voting on all board and committee liaisons again, as well as your annual reappointments in June anyhow, so you could consider, moving that around at that point.
Of course we could. It's just, I don't want things to not have proper representation.
Correct.
At this stage with things moving forward. So I think it's important for all of us to recognize we have to sometimes step in when it's difficult, but do appreciate it, Mr. Schultz. You have the list in front of you. I would hope that you'll go through it and you make your recommendations as to what you would like to be on and which committees, how we ought to continue to staff them. The other thing I would appreciate is to get feedback on how we should deal with attending these committee meetings. I'm not convinced that we need to attend all of them, even though we may represent the board on some of them. But it's important to keep in touch with what's going on in the committee. So if you have any ideas on how best we can keep informed and still parse our time reasonably, I'm open to any kinds of suggestions in that area. And again, I think the best way to get your thoughts back and forth are through Mr. Gazinski and Ms. Beret. Okay? I have a list, I hope you have, of all the committees which we are going to have to reappoint in June. So it's useful to get that list if you don't already have it. Okay. Next item is approval of the water and sewer commitment, which I now need to find.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
There are two commitments for the board's review and hopefully approval this evening. The first is the quarterly bill run commitment for the fourth quarter of May 2021 for water and sewer in the amount of $663,060.29.
I'll take a motion on that.
I move that we approve the quarterly fourth quarter water sewer commitment for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $663,060.29.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the quarterly bill run commitment, fourth quarter for May 2021, fiscal year 2021, in the water sewer commitment in the amount of $663,060.29. I'll poll the board. Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
Mrs. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. It's been approved.
And just one more, Mr. Chairman, and this is for the water and sewer commitment to the collector for April of 2021 in the amount of $3,602.64.
I'll take a motion from the board.
I move that we approve the water sewer commitment for April 2021 in the amount of $3,602.64.
Second.
To move and seconded to approve the water sewer department commitment, excuse me, for April 2021 in the amount of $3,602.64. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. So approved.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And the last item is discussing the meeting schedule, at least for the next several months. There's one other piece I'd like to throw into this, and that is that it's been requested that we move the meetings to start at 7 p.m. I think it's a very reasonable request, given that one of our members does commute into Boston, who's take the train. So unless there's a problem, I'd like to recommend that.
That's fine.
Commuting to the South Shore now, so.
Well, is 7 o'clock okay, or?
Yeah, I told my employer that I have this commitment, and I can slip out a little early if I need to make it. So 7 o'clock will work quite easily.
Okay.
And on a special occasion with adequate notice, I can slide it, if there's a package into Peter and is keeping us on a schedule that gets us out earlier, or let me know and I'll request, I'll make sure I depart an hour earlier and get here for 6 or 6:30 start if it helps.
That's right. Hopefully we don't have many or any of those, so.
I would rather start at 6 than end at 11, so.
Two thumbs up.
Okay.
Chairman Jermaine?
Yes, Mrs. Hill.
I am good with all these proposed dates, with the exception, I will not be available on June 21st.
Okay. So we still have the 2 members, and that brings up an interesting point. Although we can't deal with it tonight, I would like you to think about setting up a bylaw change or whatever, or maybe a policy change is a better way to state, for the select board so that we can have a member join remotely if necessary, due to illness, due to travel, due to a vacation, whatever, as long as the other 2 members are present and can hold the board meeting in the normal prescribed manner. I'd like to get your thoughts and so on that so that we can discuss it and decide how to proceed at a future meeting, hopefully a very near future meeting, if that's acceptable to the 2 of you.
It is, and I'll be on vacation that week, which is why I'm not available, but if I have proper connectivity, I'd be happy to try to join. So if we've decided that that's something allowable, whatever the meeting situation we're under at that point is, but I can be a little flexible.
And I think it makes sense to do that, to provide the flexibility. We've proven it's worked for the last year. I do look forward to getting back into regular meetings in a room with people. but I think that this provides the flexibility, and it clearly does work, and it works quite well. I only had one moment of speaking with your mic off, Peter, so.
Okay, I'm going to chop that one up, and remember, so,
But only once.
only, it won't be the last, unfortunately. Okay.
Mr. Chair, not that it's important, but I am also on vacation on the 21st. But Maureen can sit in for me.
Okay.
You don't need me.
Well, how about if we get comments in and we make that an agenda item on our next meeting and discuss it and decide if we want to make this part of our policy?
Yeah.
Is that reasonable, Mr. Kalinski?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And if there's anything else in that vein that you feel needs to be brought forward, please do so as other members. We want to make this as open as possible. Okay. What I am going to suggest now is that the board is going to recess unless there are any further comments, and we're going to go into executive session. Is that reasonable? Do any of you have any concerns?
Nope, no concerns.
Then I'll
Before
take,
we disappear, is there a special Zoom number, or do we stay on?
I sent a separate email, Craig, for executive session. It's a different link. I can resend it when we come off if you'd like.
before we leave, I better do the same thing. So just
You
a
know what?
second.
I was going to say, as soon as I shut off of this meeting, I will resend the email so you can just click on the link. How's
I
that?
got it.
Unless you found it.
Okay, I'll pull the board.
Lost you, then you had to get you back.
I'll pull the board to recess to executive session. Once you're in executive session, we'll hold our session.
Sorry.
What? Excuse me?
Mr. Chairman, you just need to list the reason for which we're going into executive session.
You're correct.
I can list that if you want. It's
I would
on the
appreciate
agenda.
it. You would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I recommend that the board go into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate, 61A parcel of Village Street, and to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with union personnel, fire contract negotiations, and that the board will come back into open session just for adjournment.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. I'll poll the board. I'll take a motion on recess.
I move that we recess to executive session.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to recess to executive session. I'll poll the board. Ms. Underhill?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Jermaine, yes. I'll see you all in executive session.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.